This is my buddy Cody's TMC. We got the Tech T, Tech, whatever the fuck you want to call them, spring kit, and some of the foam blue ball tents, which are way better than the stock ones. And we're also going to polish his internals. There's not a lot of videos on YouTube polishing the internals of Tippmanns. If you're a Tippmann owner, it's kind of a necessity. Come apart, bitch. There she is, in all of her glory. It's a lot of wear for a new gun. It's interesting. All right. TMC, I'm actually a big fan of because it has the least amount of body pins I've ever had to deal with. On a Tippmann marker, if you take apart an Alpha Black or a 98 Custom, Jesus fucking Christ. See these silver pins? You've got this one like dark pin here. This pin is like hardened, or for the sear only. Because obviously this one takes the most stress, so this is a hardened pin. If you put one of these silver pins in your sear, it will break the pin and your gun will malfunction. And I've done that before. Yeah, so learn from my mistakes. Anyway, and I'm going to, at this point, pause the video and go wash Cody's marker in a sink full of Dawn, just to get any kind of grease or anything off of it. Like this little bit of lube that someone tried to put in there. We'll get all that off, and we're gonna come back with the brass brush and start polishing. We just got back out of the sink. A little bit of wear here, and that's interesting to me. Look at all the wear here in the hammer well, because Cody just got this gun. It's a mag-fed gun, so he didn't fire it a lot, right? He just got this thing. He probably shot it. He bought 500 balls that day, and I guarantee he didn't shoot them all. And have this amount of wear back here where the hammer is. Not a big fan of that personally. So it's a whole nother reason to polish this thing. But it just kind of goes to show you Tippmann doesn't really lube these things all that well from the factory. We'll talk about the spring kit that he chose. Is the Hardcore Tuner Deluxe spring kit from Tech. 5 drive springs from weakest to strongest here. The light silver spring, and then you've got the green one, which is a little bit heavier than that one. The blue one, which is just a little bit lighter than the stock spring, and then the black one is a little bit heavier than stock. The red one is even heavier than that, and then this one right here is the strongest spring that you can probably find for a Tippmann 98 right now, or any Tippmann product. It's actually the spring that Tech sells with their zero kick hammer. Increases the velocity quite a bit, adds more mechanical oomph to your shot, so you don't have to use as much air if you're trying to get a little more air efficiency. Anyway, we'll get to this eventually. I just kind of wanted to cover this before. Okay, now the fun part. We're going to take our cheap Harbor Freight rotary tool. This is actually Dylan's. Eye protection. You can wear shot glasses or whatever. But pretty much all I'm going to do is polish the parts where there's going to be movement. So in here, where the bolt's going to move, valve sits here, so I'm not going to do any in here. Do some polishing back here where the hammer slides, and I may just do some touch-ups in here where the trigger well sits, or where the trigger mechanism, this is here, the trigger mechanism sits. You'll notice in Caleb's marker, if you see pictures of it, I start the magwell in his. I wanted to see fitment with a magazine before I finished the job. And after putting magazines in there, we decided that we weren't going to do the magwells. May end up doing it in the future if you're trying to get like a, I don't know, a quicker mag change or whatever. That less friction is going to be nice, and that's really all we're trying to achieve here is less friction during the cycling of the marker. It'll increase the consistency, increase the longevity. They do this from the factory, obviously, because it would cost a lot more money if they had to stop and polish the inside of every single one of these. Preferably you would want a Dremel, and one that's good. This is just a prime example of what you can achieve with dog shit tools. So you don't really want to stay in one spot for too long. I just try to keep it moving, always oscillating. We've probably polished 9 or 10 Tippmanns with this particular Harbor Freight tool right now that Dylan bought for $9. You don't want to be really removing a whole lot of material. We're really just polishing. And that's got hit in the face with one of these little wire bristles, so that kind of shows you why we're wearing this. And here is an example of what we're looking for. Let's took another wire bristle to the face there from fucking wearing this mask. Boom. There we go. And that is a polished hammer wheel. Okay? Took just a couple minutes. Wasn't that hard. It's a lot smoother. Look at that. Okay? Well, which one do you think the bolt or the hammer is going to glide in better? You know, which one's going to cause less resistance? Which one's going to have a more smooth and consistent application of force? Probably the one that has less friction, right? Probably the one that's a little more polished. Let's keep going. Okay, so we're like a quarter of the way through here. We'll just keep on trucking. There you go. Rotary tool's cooled off quite a bit. Cody's initials, the date we did this, and my mark. That way, these guns will be firing along after I'm dead, honestly, you know? So, just a little something I can leave on the earth. Every one that I've ever worked on has one of those in it. So if you take a Tippmann apart somewhere, I haven't touched one from November of last year until probably 2008 was the last time I touched one. So, but they're probably out there. Anyway, back to the sink for a final scrub. And then it's assembly turned. We're ready for assembly. In all of my builds, if I ever work on any of your guns, anybody on my team, I work on their equipment, it gets Eclipse grease from Planet Eclipse for a couple reasons. One, because it came free with my EMAC, and two, because it's just Dow 33 like everybody else has. Really, you can use any of them. You can go and buy Dow 33 in bulk on eBay if you wanted to. But from what I've read, Planet Eclipse puts some fucking additives in there, like unicorn tears and shit. And it's better. So, yeah. Okay, power tube is in, drive spring goes down the back here. Boom. Okay, so we got that little Delrin washer in there, which I'm going to edit out me forgetting to do earlier. And then you just kind of got to get a little gap there, fit that on, set her in there. Make sure that's on there good and tight. You know what I mean? Could be a leak there. I heard the O-ring snap, so we're actually pretty good. Okay. This weird bobby pin. The pin that the sear rests upon, and then our upgraded lighter trigger spring. You really should save yourself a lot of headache and put the trigger on before you do all this. But you know what? I live for danger. Boom. Here's our lighter spring. I always try to put it on the nub first and slide the bitch in there. And that's gonna be nice and light. Yeah, it goes on like this. So you'll notice there's like, this side's pretty flat and featureless, like it's in the bottom of the mold. And this side has some detail on the top. This is actually the side that's gonna come up. That's usually how I remember on this TMC. And this is the rod I'm talking about here. This is the connecting rod that goes over top of your power tube here. And I've been thinking about trying to make a shorter one of these out of like coat hanger and messing with it. I'll do that with Kevin's gun. Probably tonight or tomorrow. I don't know. I still have my gun I've yet to really work on too much. I need to do a couple things on my EMAC still. Secret O-ring type stuff trying to... Anyway, let's see. If you fit those O-rings in the EMAC customly, like go in there and get one that's just a little bit smaller, but you make it fit. You can do some really cool rate of fire stuff with them. I've been looking, I haven't actually done it. I'm gonna experiment with it tonight. This is so nice. With the 98 Custom, you always have that weird little leaf spring in the front that you have to fuck with. It's a pain. This one you don't have that. This one they give you a different pain to deal with. It's the cocking mechanism. And I have trouble with it so much. And of course, it's just gonna go for me. So that is what you cock with. So when we're putting this thing on, we're putting the body on here. Safety, right? Bam, bam. We're going to have to manipulate the trigger while we're sliding the body on in order to get it by. So we'll have to pretty much disengage the marker, which I'm gonna go ahead and do now, hopefully gently. Yeah. Boom. Yeah, see, that's what happens right there. That little spring comes undone. If you've ever worked on those 98 Customs, that little leaf spring on the front, this is her cousin, and she's just as much of a bitch. Mag release is such a bitch. There she goes. Assembly is complete. Hopefully, for fuck's sake, mate. Another cool thing about these Tippmanns is they will let you know if the wrong screw is in, because it'll stick out the other side. If it fits flush on the other side, it's the right screw. See that one sticking out there? It's the wrong screw. Boom, see, perfect length, right bolt. Okay, same here. Perfect length. Boom. It's like a puzzle. Tippmanns are like big old puzzles. If you like working on puzzles, you'll pretty much love working on Tippmanns. He also asked me to do the no rattle electric tape mod I just remembered for his shroud. So I gotta find where it sits. White marker here. Right here. All right. This back part. Boom. There's where I need my tape. See where we're at. Still too much. No. It's a lot tighter. There she goes. All right, let's go shoot it real quick.